So, Brandie, you've got two companies right now, right? Knox Design, right? And Moxx.
Yeah.
So, like creative and like creative chaos, like what's
A lot of chaos among two companies.
yeah, what's going on here?
Well, the idea for Moxx sort of came out of running Knox Design Strategy for many years. Some work we did, which specifically was a litigation team. We've done this a number of times since, but we got a call from a litigation team originally who wanted our branding and storytelling expertise for a mediation presentation. And the team was really focused on us helping them visualize aspects of a case.
Okay.
And what we realized is it wasn't just a graphic design assignment. It was visual storytelling. So we worked with the attorneys. We outlined the key message points. So whether they were slides or visuals, here's what needs to come out of each of these. Here's a key message point. Here's what that audience, that mediator needs to remember. So we really had to work on not just distilling that into those very specific points, those very specific takeaways that the attorneys were going to be speaking to, but showing those with the visuals. So whatever those visuals were, whether it was excerpts from exhibits or a timeline or graphic indication of maybe space on a map, like whatever those visuals were, but also the cadence. So how that message is delivered and how all of that information and those visuals flow in. So that's what I found to be really fun was I was actually working alongside them and we were going back and forth on the actual strategy.
So who do you like? All right, so because like I've interviewed a lot of attorneys and it's a lot of fun because you have the ones that are like very entrepreneurial, very maybe marketing based. Then you have the ones that are like they're like engineers. I mean, they dissect the way they can dissect like, you know, information and whatnot. And so like in a case, I'd imagine you're dealing with a couple different ones, right? And like, so who's your go-to? Because like if you're creating a piece of whatever it is, an image, a graphic, I would imagine it's going to be a way different, the engineer mindset is going to be like way different than like maybe the marketing sort of, even though they're not doing marketing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
personality. That's what I'm trying to get with.
It is very different. I mean, on the marketing side, you're really usually talking about the attorney, their work, their personality. So those things are coming through. But when you're working with an attorney on their case,
Yeah.
like they want to win this case,
Yeah.
and so it's a different mindset. It's almost more maybe immediate. Like it's more like we have to get this right 100%. There's a real back and forth and a real collaboration, I think, that happens a bit more even so than in a marketing and business development space, I found.
I would think. I mean, like because you're talking about like a trial, right? So like, who's handling when is it the person that's doing the actual speaking at the trial who's like your main point of contact when you're creating it, or is it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it could be any type. It could be a trial. It could be a mediation where it's they're working with the mediator in person or remote. Sometimes it's over the screen, but very often we're working with like not the main litigator who's going to be actually presenting. We're working with his team, and so he may be a little or she may be a little involved, but they're doing the bulk of that work with me, and then going back with the first chair to make sure it flows properly and all pulls together. So yeah, you bring up a good point. So that's when I'm always very like I'm sort of drilling home the idea of like you have to practice this, you have to project it, you have to walk through all the animations, all the builds. Like it has to 100% flow with how you're delivering that presentation to your audience.
From a design point.
Well, from a design point, from a messaging, like making sure like it's capturing whatever you're planning to say next, that visual on the screen's got to support that.
Right.
So
Are we talking about Moxx in that, or are we just talking about that's more just like that was just like your design shop at that point?
Well, that was mostly design shop. So yeah, that was more graphics to support litigation teams. So in working with these litigation teams, we started to see how sort of their workflow. So we build a lot of internal applications and products for law firms that manage a number of different internal processes and help improve workflows. So Moxx sort of became that workflow challenge.
Okay.
When we started working with these litigation teams, they were just like data dump, like all this stuff, like, you know, tons and tons of PDFs and things were just coming in and secure links and email and Word docs and Excel sheets.
Yeah.
And I guess they understood their organizational method, but it was a little fuzzy for the rest of us.
Yeah.
But they all kind of had their own way of working. There wasn't a real cohesive way.
Right.
And their tools just seemed well, there really weren't any tools. They were using e-discovery tools, but then there wasn't anything they were using after that e-discovery phase. So everything was just on a document management system. So in our work with helping them build out some of the strategy for, say, timelines or how they were going to approach these mediations or arbitrations, we came up with the idea of like, what, maybe we just build our own product that works to solve for this and helps them not only organize, but it helps see the big picture of their case, whether it's a timeline or working on that narrative. So instead of working in like disparate Word and Excel documents where they're like listing the allegations and listing the facts and listing the documents, you're able to put that in one platform that everybody can see. You can cross-link, you can open those documents right in the app if you collaborate right in that space. Like there was so much email traffic and so many things happening in email that were buried.
Yeah. And
that attorneys kind of forgot or didn't know. And we didn't, because we couldn't, like, there's as you can imagine, when there's a deadline, there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
So having all that captured in one place where you can collaborate and all of your notes are there. So that's really the idea for how Moxx came about.
So that's like the birth of Moxx. It's to help keep everything organized, right?
Yeah, it does keep everything organized, but it also helps you collaborate on the strategy. So instead of burying all this work product in Word or email, you're able to see that strategy, and having one place where everybody's working, it really helps the team, hopefully, right, see gaps in timeline, gaps in what people said, just being able to review and see everything in a big picture, and drill down in it very specifically. And also it helps free up some of that time that was spent on organization before, and enabling them to spend more time on the strategy piece.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little of how we started to work on like solving that problem of litigation workflows is we started to do some prototyping, building some things out, getting some ideas, doing a lot of research. And then we actually, phoned in a couple of lawyer friends, because I happen to know a few out there. So, said, will you give me like 20, I would love 30, I'll take 20 minutes. And we had them walk through with us, and we documented every attorney we spoke to, their workflow.
Okay.
How things come out of or don't come out of an e-discovery platform, what their challenges are, what document management systems they're using, how they're collaborating, sort of who's doing what. And we mapped all this sort of current state and looked at what are all the consistencies and where are the outliers. And then we sort of mapped what our future state was. So as we started building Moxx or prototyping it, we also did a lot of usability testing. So we reached out to some of those same attorneys who probably maybe were not that happy to hear from me said so, and had them actually use it. And we asked them specific questions to see how well they did or did not get to where we were hoping they would go in terms of using it.
Okay.
And then we iterated. So we've done that a few times. I mean, I'm sure there's always room for improvement, but that's kind of where we are now.
Okay. So I'm a litigator. I'm logging into Moxx for like the first time. What does my like day actually look like? Walk me through like what's happening.
Well, hopefully a paralegal or maybe someone else, another associate on your team, if your first chair has uploaded all of your documents, whether they've been pulled down from an e-discovery platform with an API or bulk uploaded into Moxx. So you have all of your documents in one application. And from there, you're able to start to, I like to think of it as a funnel.
Okay.
So when you go into discovery, you could have thousands and thousands of documents. And hopefully by the time you get to Moxx, you whittle that down into a smaller subset of documents. That's what comes into Moxx. And so you're funneling those even down further into your core exhibits and your hot documents. So you're able to create various workbooks, various folders within workbooks that you can rename, drag and drop, reorder, but you have a very consistent way of working and with your team and collaborating. So within those folders, you're able to collaborate and comment on documents, maybe talk about and start to outline how you're going to handle a deposition or a cross-examination. And you're able to really work on those very specific things in one place. So you're not in email, which is also like, if you're doing it in email, besides getting buried, you're also paying attention to the other 1 million emails that are coming in your inbox. And now I have to go find and remember, like, what did Joey tell me, 2 weeks ago? It's all captured in one place.
Okay, got it.
And so you have your workbook, then you have your case timeline. So your case timeline includes a visual representation of all the things that happened in your case. AI will be able to create a first draft of that for you. What happened, when did it happen, a description, and you can tag it by plaintiff, defendant, third party. So you're able to filter those out. So you can just, here's what the defendant said, here's what the plaintiff said happened. Then you're able to issue. So you're able to tag all those events with, if there are particular issues in a case, which provides further filtering and also linking all of the documents.
Okay.
So if something happened and I have 2 pieces of evidence that support that, I'm able to see those in my timeline, click on that and open it. Okay. So if I want to highlight this paragraph that I want to ask my in cross-examination or whatever, I can do those things right in the app.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basic, like, it's the whole thing then. I mean, it's like piecing it, like, it's not just like so it's quite different than like what you were doing with design. Is what I'm trying.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, well, it is and isn't. So for, when we think about the branding and sort of public facing, it is different from that. But over the years, we've started to do a lot more UX UI work where we'll come into a firm who has a very bespoke need for a product, or maybe they have something that's old. Yeah. And we'll help them figure out what that is and prototype it. And it could be anything from a knowledge bank to an intranet to very bespoke databases that handle certain types of deals. So we've been working in that space a lot more.
Oh, okay.
And so this is sort of like, okay, instead of building it for a client, I was like, well, why shouldn't we just build our own? Right. Because that seems like a great idea.
But like your whole, it's a whole, like, I didn't realize. So you're really like, it's a whole user experience. I mean, like, the story that you're sort of building is like their user experience.
Exactly. Yep. And it's a very easy to use interface within guardrails. So there's flexibility within guardrails, I should say. So you can't go too crazy with it, because then you have no structure, but it enables, we know all teams work differently. And so it enables you to do certain things like renaming particular areas, reordering, those type of things that allow you to customize it so it works how you work.
Is there like a certain type of case or firm or that sort of, is it for anybody, or like?
I mean, obviously litigators, and I would say primarily litigators with at least a small team, small to a large team.
Okay.
I think if you're, I guess if you're a solo litigator, it probably would work for you. You may not need, like, I don't know that you would need a tool like this, but this definitely is a big collaboration piece. So any litigation team.
You mentioned AI. Are there any pieces of AI that you like using right now?
Well, we're integrating AI for the timeline so that it can create. So right now, all of your timelines are generally done manually, right? You have to sit down and sort through. AI will create that initial draft timeline for you.
Okay.
And then it will also account for later if there's 5 more documents you upload, it will suggest edits to that timeline. But edits that you can accept or reject, because if you have a good solid timeline and then something, uproots that, you probably are going to be very upset. So the ability to be able to really go in and determine what you want to accept or what you need to edit. So that's one thing. And then core things like document summaries, case summaries,
Okay.
like the basics. And then in the near future, we're looking at potentially like how can we use AI to spot gaps in timeline or maybe different time specific issues.
Yeah.
They could be tagged through the product and maybe even make suggestions about certain strategy things. That's kind of getting a little bit in tricky territory. So like that last piece is something that's a bit further out in their roadmap. AI is still, I mean, we all love it, but we still have to be very careful and not rely on it 100%.
Yeah, it's AI. It's like I use it a lot. But it's like even when I use it, I'll use certain programs that I like sort of fall into like habit. Um, but it's just moving so fast that when I talk to other people, I feel like a complete moron when I'm like, oh, I didn't even know about that, and like it's a crazy time.
Yeah, it really is.
So
It's just changing so quickly.
is it right? So like you've got Moxx, you've got Knox, you're the founder of both of them, and you're building story lines sort of on both of them, right? And now we're not even talking about how you market and how you're navigating Moxx, which I guess we did kind of, touch point, but let's try to bring it back to like Knox design and specifically storytelling. And I think you've been talking a little bit about UI in that regard. So walk me through it a little bit.
I mean, a lot of the UX UI work we do is very specifically, we're very often working with knowledge management, innovation teams, sometimes business development, but these are products that in law firms use internally.
Okay.
And for a number of things, it might be workflow, solving particular workflow issues. It might be how to surface information from a number of different applications, or like I mentioned before, I think databases for particular practices. But when you think about it, particularly when you look at surfacing information from a number of platforms,
Yeah.
there's a benefit for me as an attorney or a business support not having to go to 8 different places to look for something. I can get the information from one place. But you're telling a very specific story when you're only surfacing certain bits of information from all those different applications, for example. So there's a process that goes into what is most important, what do we need attorneys or business support staff to act on, what are the benefits. So you really have to drill down and determine like what are the key messages really that need to be delivered on that.
So why don't we talk a little bit about like lessons for storytellers? And what's unique about talking with you is that you're a storyteller as a founder, storytelling as far as like design at Knox Design and Big Law and legal, but then also storytelling within UX and then as a founder for Moxx, and I'm sure it's completely different, So why don't we start with like storytelling, like where you are with Moxx and how that's going? Because I know that you're really like pushing it, like you're different conferences, different like engagements. So let's talk about it from like a founder's perspective. Because you've been entering competitions and like I've seen, are you doing like what's in a couple weeks? It's like something.
We're at Legal Tech Connect, which is maybe so. Legal Tech Connect is there. We're on the solution showcase for startups, but it is running adjacent to the Knowledge Management Innovation Conference.
Okay.
And so we'll be pitching 5 minutes on stage. We'll be showcasing the product.
Okay.
investors, potential buyers, and other startups.
Okay, so what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna go about it? Are you like, do you have your like, have you broken it down? Like, who's your target? Like, where you're like, walk me through. You doing a 5 minute pitch?
Yes.
So maybe like somebody that's like watching us, like
Yeah.
they don't know where to start. Like, how are you gonna? That's intense. Like, I've done some of those pitches. You're
Yeah.
like standing. You don't know if anybody's gonna like listen to it. Like, I don't know this one. I did one in April, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get? I don't know if my market is, I think like they're there, but I don't know if they're going to be in that spot.
Be in the room.
And I don't want to talk too winded. So I kept mine. I went with an approach of, I just want them to like me.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into like all I do because I don't know if they're going to like, if they're walking by, if they're going to hear it. So like that was sort of like my thing was that like, I tried to be funny, which was so freaking hard for me because I'm not really funny. You know, like maybe like on a one-on-one, you know, but like to be like it's tough. Like that was so it was like that's how I was like breaking down like my pitch and my storytelling and like I wanted it to be memorable, but not like if anything, even though I hate this term, I was like, if somebody just says, "Oh, you're the video guy," like maybe that would be like that would be okay for me.
Yeah.
Like that, like it could start a conversation somewhere else. So
Yeah.
like, but what about you? Like, what's your like? You know, I'm sure there might. I don't know. There could be somebody that's like trying to put like you're really freaking like brilliant at what you're doing. So like, there somebody could get some value on like how you're how you go about it.
Yes, I have 5 minutes, and I've been to one of these things before. When your time is up, you're out of there. They will just cut you off on stage. So I'm really trying to focus again. The storytelling, right? What are the key messages? Keeping it very concise, very some visuals and very little copy
Yeah.
on the screen. But who I am, how I came up with the idea for Moxx, but really focusing on the problem that we're solving.
Okay.
What's the issue and how are we solving it? And taking the audience through a few key screens. There isn't a demo, there are screenshots of here's how attorneys or litigators specifically are doing this now, and here's how Moxx helps them do it better. So taking them through a few scenarios. But you could spend, an hour talking about that. This has to be consolidated. So what are the key things I want to cover? What do I want them to remember? What's the problem? Who's the target audience right now?
Yeah.
And what does that really translate to in terms of maybe time saved or benefit of having not just more time to bill for billable hours, but more time to focus on case strategy because I'm not doing a lot of administrative tasks, or because I can see my whole case in one space, and I'm able to really work on it better and more efficiently. And I'm able, maybe in the timeline, I'm able to actually see gaps that I wouldn't ordinarily see. So really, it's just it is storytelling, and you do want them to like you apparently. So, which can be sometimes difficult if you're like nervous on stage. So.
It is, and I don't know. I always like look back on it like you can't make everybody like you. So it's like you have to kind of go down like who's the one going back to like by your persona. It's like who's you're still building a story, but like who's the one type of person or company or individual that I want to like me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna focus like versus because I feel like if it's just so broad, it's just too watered down. And
you bring up a good point, which we had touched on before, which are personas, and really knowing who you're speaking to helps target that message. So there's three audience types in that room that I know of. There's the KM and I people who may be buyers.
Okay.
There may be litigators in that room, or attorneys. I doubt there are going to be many litigators. Investors, which I would say right now is our key audience, and then other legal tech startups. So we're really trying to focus on that persona, the investor persona.
Okay.
And so it could be investors as you think of them typically, or a design partner who would, a law firm who would want to partner with us to, build out more of our roadmap. But really focusing on the problem how we're solving it, and potentially like what's at stake in terms of strategy, lost cases, money. It's always, something that, how do you translate that into dollars?
Got it. So problem solution, right?
Yes.
But you're focused specifically on investors, right?
Yes.
Your pitch wouldn't be, well, why a law firm needs this. Well, from a law firm's perspective, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's more like whether it's companies that are maybe somebody, I would imagine somebody that understands the money lost on the table, work from big firms that don't have a solution like this.
And I would say actually our target is more of the smaller, medium-sized firms, folks.
Okay.
Primarily because they are an underserved market.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're the teams, they are the litigation teams who are competing with the larger firms
Oh yeah.
and on very high stakes cases. And they don't often have the technology to support, or the technology that's out there is very expensive. So that's an area we're really targeting first, is how we can help serve that market.
Right, where they don't have the people that they can just like
Exactly.
put another 80 hours on.
Another associate or someone. So Moxx can help fill that gap too.
Got it. But your pitch is on that they're losing those cases. They're losing the opportunity, or is it something different than that?
Well, I mean, we don't really know that they're necessarily losing the opportunity, but I think it's one is wasting a lot of time, which takes away from the billable hours thing everybody wants to focus on. But it's also time that you can devote to case strategy and actually working on winning the case and finding the gaps, finding the holes, looking at what you should be focusing on. And so that comes into time, but it also comes into our interface, which allows you to see everything in one place. So you're looking at your case more holistically by having all of your work product, potentially your strategy, your timeline, all of your core documents. You have everything in one space. Right. You're able to work with your team. So how you work is really, the idea is how you work is transformed.
So we I know you already said it, but like if you're somebody that like, so you're going to break down your pitch, then you're going to focus on, you're not going to hit on everything. You're just going to focus sort of on, and I think that is like the gist of when you break down storytelling.
It is. It is hard because even in like something like a litigation, there's a lot to tell, right? Very often these cases are huge, but if you have 40 minutes or 30 minutes and you want to focus on core visuals, you better be concise, because also like people don't remember anything or they glaze over. So you have to simplify complex processes or information. You really have to focus on what do I want the audience to remember? Right. There's probably 10 really burning things they need to know.
Yeah.
But if they're only going to remember 3, what are those 3 that I want them to remember, and really focus your attention there? So it's really about, as much as about deciding what to tell, it's also about deciding what to leave out, which can be very hard.
I was going to say, how do you go through that?
Yeah.
That's
yeah, you kind of start and you just start to weed it out. You really have to think of, when we've worked with litigation teams on presentation work.
Yeah.
I have when I help them with this in my outline, I'm like, what's the one key message? If there's one visual or one slide, what is the one key message you want the audience to take away from this slide? You can tell a little bit more in the backstory, but what's that one message? And that the visual or the bullet point or whatever needs to tell that, you can give a little bit more background, but they're not going to remember much beyond that. So you have to be very focused.
But there's a lot in there that you like left out, I feel like, because like, from a designs, like that's the thing, you're like super creative when you are like putting something like that together. It's like, it's not just, I mean, imagine you're focusing on the colors and the font and all of it.
Color, fonts, scale, hierarchy, what's the type, what's the type that we want them to focus on? Like if there's a few things to be read, if there's a call out, let's just say if there's an argument about a clause in a contract, like you could put that up there, but like what happens if you start to even just, these are just a very simple thing, start to highlight some of the key sentences or phrases within that clause and call those out to the side.
Yeah.
Not only to highlight the content, but depending on who you're speaking to, how can you highlight what that means to a person who is not a lawyer?
Right. Right.
So those are really important.
Does that stuff get focused on the brand of the firm, or is that's like sort of somewhat thrown out the window?
In terms of like palette types, branding,
Colors. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good question. We usually start with that question early on, and a few times we've worked with the law firms branding. Sometimes with the mostly we've been on the defense side. We work with the defendants branding.
Yeah.
Sometimes the attorneys are like, it really doesn't matter. So we just try to keep it clean, not use color for emphasis, but it's not really about that. I mean, it needs to be there, but it's sort of like, if it's good, you don't pay attention to it kind of thing. So we just really use color and your visuals, obviously, but color for emphasis, scale for emphasis.
But the stakes are high on this new stuff.
One of the cases that we worked on that I found the most fascinating had to do with some text messages that were discovered. And we recreated these text messages so that while the attorney was talking through them in the courtroom, the texts were popping out between the parties. Like we literally recreated all this with the photos, almost like as if you were on your phone, but they were huge and on the screen. And the attorney said even the court officer was completely enamored and totally into like what was going on in the courtroom. And I mean, he's seen more cases than any of the attorneys in the room, probably, because that's what he does all day. But they said he was completely focused, as was everybody. But just the fact that we had gotten like his attention to focus on like what was happening, they said, "Oh, we knew we had done a good job because we had his attention."
I mean, it's different, but it's kind of like the hook. Like I had, was talking with somebody that's like, she's got a really incredible TikTok channel and e-commerce. And she was talking about like what she does with her hooks. She does content every day. Every day she's doing a video, and her videos, she does like selling without selling, right? So she doesn't just talk about her product. She just kind of goes with like whatever she's gonna do today, and maybe she'll talk about like her stuff. Maybe she won't, but like she might decide to redo like a cooking thing, right? Even though she doesn't do cooking, right? But like she'll start with like, today I'm going to show you how to like make the best brownies, whatever you've ever had. But like in the beginning of the shot, like she'll say like, oh, we'll see if I can even make it. But like in the shot, she's actually holding the freaking brownie that she's already made. And like that number she talks about, like having that in the shot, people will watch the whole thing versus like not showing it. Like, and she's already telling them like subliminally is like, hey, I already did it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go for a ride now.
Seeing the finished product. They know she gets there. They want to see how she does.
Yeah. And that's like storytelling, and people like look at it and then whatever, it's not. And I'm like, no, like that's a huge deal to like, because people ask me, oh, like how long should a video be or what it matter? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It matters like your hooks and like your engagement. Exactly. And it matters on your creating design work that looks exactly like what it looked like on the phone, but bigger, but it yet preserved everything and made somebody sort of
really focus and not lose
on that, whatever that text was. That was, I'm sure, like a really big deal to the case.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too. Like with the brownies, is very often sometimes clients want to talk about what the thing should be and what it should look like. And don't worry about any of that yet. Let's talk about what it is you need to communicate.
Right.
The problem that you're trying to solve, whether it's a branding problem or a UX UI problem, and then we'll figure out what the end result should be. But we can't get to Z without starting at N. So.
Yeah. Get into the bowl. Yeah. Right. And like, it's kind of like your pitch, but like we were talking about, like, I feel like sometimes people put too much in one basket.
Very often,
and then you can't pick up the freaking basket because it's too heavy. Okay, so we talked a lot about like storytelling. I think from like a founder's perspective, from a design perspective, from what you're doing with Moxx. So just to kind of like end, any sort of like words of wisdom that you to someone that's like looking for some guidance in regards to storytelling and how that fits within some of the design constraints that you
Yeah.
talked about.
Sure. I would say focus on, I've said this before, but key messages. Less is more. What do you want them to remember and why? But make it memorable, whether it's with not just what you're saying, but what you're showing them. Our attention spans are very short. So really just focusing on not telling everything, but just really honing in on those core messages.
Thank you, Brandie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
You too.